So, going organic. I get this asked a lot. Should I do organic? Should I not do organic? What should I do? So my answer really is it depends on you. I know it sucks, that answer, but it really does. If you're able to afford to do organic, I would absolutely recommend it. And the reason, some of the things that you want to make sure that you go organic are things such as meat. And the reason for that is when you look at a bovine that was around a cow, a bovine, in the 1900s, that cow had only produced 20,000 pounds of milk. You look at that same bovine today, it's producing up to 80,000 pounds of milk. But what has changed in the last several years is the introduction of growth hormone. But with the introduction of these growth hormones, what's happened is the cows were getting sick a lot. So I'm sure you all remember mad cow disease. It was because of the growth hormone. So what they implemented after that was antibiotics. The main antibiotic they implemented was penicillin. So penicillin is now given to cows, and that's what ends up in your meat. That's what ends up on your plate in your glass of milk. So when you are looking at meats, you want to try and find as organic as absolutely possible, because that will just prevent you from having all those excessive amounts of hormones in your body. But we already have them, but we don't need extra. That's probably another reason that you'll probably notice a lot of your clients or what have you that there are a lot more allergies to penicillin. And that's one of the biggest reasons is when penicillin is an absolutely fantastic antibiotic, but when it was misused about 50 years ago and it has not stopped, that's how all these allergies are becoming more and more prominent. And you look at peanut allergies with kids. I used to be able to take a peanut butter and jam sandwich to school. Now there's no nuts at all. And that's because of the penicillin derivative is actually from a peanut. The antibiotic that they use for the cows. That's why you see a lot more peanut allergies as well. So fruits and veggies, they are repeatedly sprayed. I'm sure we all know this. They have wax on them so that they protect them for the travel that they have to do. So again, going back to eat as seasonally as you can, and go to your local farmers, whoever's around in this area. There's farmers markets everywhere here in Vancouver. So whatever you can, get to know them better, and then you know where your food is actually coming from. And chewing. I hear a lot, oh, I have to be in a rush, so I gotta eat really fast. That's craziness. You have to chew your food. Digestion starts in the mouth. If you're someone that potentially suffers from gas or from bloating or some type of digestive discomfort, the first thing I would get you to do is actually chew. You chew absolutely everything, including liquids. The only thing you don't chew or swish around your mouth is water. Anytime you drink a juice or you're having a protein shake, anything like that, your enzymes start in the mouth. The mouth salivary enzymes is when the protein breakdown actually starts to happen. The salivary enzymes in the mouth are able to break down protein into particular different sections. That section then goes into the stomach and breaking down even further. But if you're just inhaling your food and you're not chewing it, and you're just swallowing it literally without anything, that stomach, by the time it gets there, it can't break up that big molecule. It has to then start somewhere, and that's how people can experience some gas, some bloating, some type of digestive discomfort, even constipation for that matter. So you want to make sure that you are always chewing, including all liquids. Swish it on your mouth before you swallow, except water. It's the only one that you don't do.
Can you go back just for a second?
Yes. Good. Okay. I know this is a big slide here, but I want to talk about a few nutrients that are very, very beneficial to your liver and where you actually get them from. So vitamin K is one of our fat-soluble vitamins, and we get vitamin K from typically green leafy vegetables. It is a huge, huge antioxidant, but the vitamin K that you want is K2. So there's three different vitamin Ks, K1, K2, and K3. It's K2 that you want to make sure that your liver is able to metabolize, and your liver is able to use this fat-soluble vitamin to make sure it's able to store excessive amounts of iron for you, to store your glucose for you. When your liver is secreting the hormones that you require, vitamin K is one of the precursors to make sure your liver is actually able to do that correctly. Arginine. Arginine is a huge, huge detoxifier of ammonia. And arginine you'll find in quite a different nuts actually, and lentils. So beans, peas, lentils, as well as walnuts. Walnuts are very, very high in arginine as well as in omega-3 fats. So 5 walnuts a day, you'll be sure to have your arginine every single day. You don't need to pop a pill for it. Antioxidants. If you have a juicer at home and you juice your own juice, that is the best way to get active enzymes into your body right away. The only thing with juicing though is you just realize that juice has to be drank within the hour. So when you see bottled juices that are freshly squeezed and all that, I don't know how good they really are and how long they've actually been sitting in the plastic bottles. So ideally what you want to do for juices is to press them yourself and to drink it within an hour. Selenium. Selenium is no longer in our soils. It is very, very sad. Selenium is very important for making sure that, especially for women, that your thyroid is able to function properly. It's one of the precursors in our liver that tells our liver that it's okay now to convert the inactive thyroid into the active thyroid. But when you look at our soils, they no longer have the selenium that they actually used to have. So if you look at potatoes or any root vegetable, carrots, beets, anything, they've all been tested, and the amount of selenium that they actually have now versus what they did 100 years ago is night and day. So unfortunately, selenium is something that does need to be actually supplemented. But there are a few things that you can get selenium in, and that one of the main ones is Brazil nuts. Just having 2 Brazil nuts a day gives you the amount of selenium that you'll need for your actual liver. Bruise yeast. Everybody heard of bruise yeast?
What?
Yeah.
Bruise yeast.
Oh.
Bruise yeast has tons of B vitamins and it has tons of selenium. The only problem with bruise yeast is bitter. So usually I would recommend you get the debittered kind, but not so bad in your shakes. It's actually a little bit palatable.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Let's say I take carrot, celery, and I put it in a blender.
Blender, yeah?
Yeah, and I blend it in with my protein shake.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be the same instead of going out and buying a juice machine?
Absolutely, yeah. All you're doing is that the chopping that you're doing in a blender, you're activating enzymes. So absolutely, it's just as good.
And how much brewer's yeast would you recommend?
A teaspoon.
Just a teaspoon?
Yeah, you don't need a lot. A teaspoon a day is good.
And then
Now I have a question.
Yes, Stella?
What if you buy those capsules and stuff it in the capsules and swallow it that way?
That works. 200 micrograms. You able to stuff into a capsule?
I don't know.
Try it.
But if it tastes gross, okay, that's a good way to avoid the whole thing.
Eat a Brazil nut. 2 a day. That's all you need.
You gotta eat more than you eat.
Yeah, but then in Brazil, how are they processed? How long have they been sitting on the shelf? How long, you know?
The whole thing is coming up.
Then you go and buy the capsule, and then you go, how's the manufacturer? No. Just getting it done. Shouldn't be.
Essential fatty acids, very important for our little liver. Seafood. So anything that has a high omega-3 content is what you actually want to consume. And that is your essential fatty acid that is essential, meaning that it is essential, which means your body actually needs it. So it's not an option. And other foods that have essential fatty acids are things like avocados and raw nuts and legumes and beans. Any cold, fresh seed or seafood is how you will get omega-3 fats from them. Now, eating primrose oil, I wrote at the very end there, eating primrose oil and black currant seed oil, if you're a postmenopausal woman, you want to stay away from those. But if you're not, then you're good to go.
Let's see, what?
Eating primrose oil for postmenopause, which means you're no longer menstruating anymore.
Why?
That's another topic. That's June 9th. That's the next lecture.
Okay.
That I'll talk to you at the end too. So strict low-fat diets are probably the worst things anybody can do for a liver. So I've seen a lot of people go through these yo-yo diets and what have you, when they've taken out every single fat in their body, that is also a time when I will see fat accumulation in the liver. You need fat to burn fat. You need fat to make sure that your cells are protected. You need fat to make sure that your brain is actually working and you have that motivation to do things in your day-to-day life. Now, of course, as we talked about before, it's the healthy fats that you want to make sure that you're always getting into your system and not the saturated. So strict low-fat diets are completely non-beneficial for anybody. And remember, good hygiene. The liver does filter. So the liver is responsible for making sure any microorganisms, any bacteria in your body, any drugs, any Advil, any Tylenol that you've actually taken, the liver is the one that goes and processes it all. So you want to make sure that you minimize the amounts of drugs that you actually physically take. But even with food poisoning, when you have food poisoning and you have all this diarrhea, that's actually a good thing. You want to get rid of all that stuff. Taking Imodium to stop the diarrhea, not necessarily a smart thing to do. If you're having vomiting and because of food poisoning, 24, 48 hours, totally normal. You get that stuff out of your system. That will help clear up your liver. So stopping that process from happening before that 2-day mark is up might be detrimental. That's also another reason where if bacteria get trapped in your actual liver, people tend not to get better sooner. You will see them being sick for a lot longer. Or if they get colds or flus, they tend to be the ones that stay cold or sick as the longest, as opposed to being over within a week. Sleep. Remember, sleep is just absolutely imperative. If you are an athlete and you exercise a lot and you're training a lot of people, if you're not sleeping, it is by no means beneficial to your body or to your liver. Without sleep, you don't have growth hormone. Without growth hormone, you don't have your repair mechanisms that happen in your liver that help your liver get ready for the next day and keep throwing it. And my next lecture that I was just telling you about, it's happening here, June 9th, on women's health, menopause and thyroid. That's where I'll address that other stuff that you guys are asking. And that's it. Any questions? Yes, Sarah.
How long does it take for something like Tylenol or certain things for your liver to metabolize? If you stop taking something like a drug or a Tylenol or
It all depends on the actual drug itself. Tylenols and apples are very quick, anywhere from 48 to 72 hours. They're out of your system. Certain antidepressants take almost 7 days to come out. So it really depends on the drug that you're taking, depending on its half-life, to determine how long it'll take for your liver.
One thing that I heard pharmacists say was there's just a limit to something like acetaminophen, so something like 3,000 is it, milligrams in a day. So you just raised a question here for me, and that is the doctors will say, the pharmacists will say, this is the maximum amount daily that you take. You need to handle for your liver. But you're a naturopathic physician, so what are your thoughts on those limits and doing that sequentially, taking that much sequentially?
It all goes back to the half-life. There is max doses for a reason, and the reason that a lot of these pharmacies have their max doses is because it's been shown that anything beyond that will start to then degrade the liver. So things like acetaminophen, one of the biggest problems is liver damage. But the thing with that, the problem is the gut damage, where people get ulcers and stuff from them. There's a reason why you can only take so much, is that it will destroy your liver. But again, you take it every single day, you end up with a threshold, which means the more you take it, the more your liver will be able to handle even more than. Does that make any sense? So your liver becomes accustomed to a certain amount of a drug in your body, it will process and metabolize it so much faster than it did the very first week that you first had that drug.
So that's a good thing.
It can be a good thing, but then the problem arises that then your body stops responding. So you look at Tylenol, I'll just keep using as an example. For the average person, for someone that doesn't take Tylenol regularly, 2 extra strength does it, and you're good, and you're no more pain, and you're fine. You keep doing that on a regular basis. That same person will then have to take 2 Tylenols every couple of hours to get that same benefit that they had from the 2. So I don't know, you tell me, is that good or not really? Your body's
Yeah,
not
I
being
just
accustomed.
thought
for
that
Tylenol.
3,000. I just thought that 3,000 was huge. I thought that was a huge amount for the liver. And I was thinking, because often you hear what the doctors say as the cutoffs, right, are still, like you just said about glucose, for example, I think it was, that their limits are to the naturopathic physician already not conservative enough. They need to be more conservative. So when I hear 3,000 milligrams of acetaminophen, that's huge, I thought.
The liver is a powerhouse. It's amazing what it can handle. It really is.